Hello, this is Dr. L. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the if statement in Java. So let's first talk about why do we need if statement. So basically you can use the if statement to make a decision. And there are actually two different constructs that we can use that I'm going to talk about, if statement and if else statement. Okay, now why do we want to make a decision? So normally your program is executed in a sequential flow. So basically your Java is going to execute one statement after another. So basically there will be like a bunch of statements and they will be each executed in its turn. But sometimes we need to make a decision. Like for example, so let's say for example if I ask someone for a numerical input. Let's say for example if I ask them for the age, and if they enter a negative number, then of course that's not a valid input. So what I can do is I can use the if statement, and to see if the age that was entered was a negative number, then I can kind of display a error message saying that that's an invalid age. Okay. Um, Another example could be, let's say for example, if I want to know the age, and based on the age I want to kind of display a message saying whether they can drive or not. So I can ask for the age, and if they enter a number which is less than 16, then I can say that that's they cannot really drive yet. And if they enter an age which is more than 16, then I can say that they can actually drive, and they can get a license and things like that. Okay. So what are we really doing? So what we are doing is basically we are going to take action based on the condition. And the condition, when we kind of look at the condition, either the condition is going to be true or false. So if the condition is true, we are going to take one action. If the condition is false, then we will take a different action, or maybe we might not really do anything. So it kind of gives us this ability to make a decision. Okay, so we can take like alternate course of action based on the outcome of the condition or the decision that we are making. Now there are different types of construct that we can use for decision making in Java. So we can use the if statement, if else statement, we can use a conditional operator, or we can use a switch statement. In this tutorial I'm just going to talk about the if statement and if else statement. Okay, so here's an example of the if statement. So what we are doing is, if the condition is false, so we are going to look at the condition. If the condition is true, we are going to do something, and if the condition is false, then we are not going to do anything. So here's a good example. If the sun is shining, then I will read a book. So that means my condition is the sun is shining. If it is true, then I'm going to read the book. And if the sun is not shining, basically if this condition is false, then I'm going to skip reading the book. So visually we can kind of represent it using this diagram. So basically we have a condition which is kind of an expression, and we are going to evaluate this expression, and the result is either going to be true or false. If the result is true, we are going to execute the statements. If the result is false, then we are going to skip the execution of the statement. So basically this is the way we are going to go if the condition is false, and we are going to go this way if the condition is true. Okay. Now let's see how do we actually write this in Java. Okay, actually before I talk about that, there's one more thing, because we have to look at the condition. So in this case the condition is sun is shining. Now how do you actually write this in Java? So what you do is, in Java we use what we call relational operators to compare values. So we can compare numbers, we can compare characters, we can compare doubles, we can compare strings. So we can compare any primitive data type. We can also compare objects, we can compare strings which are objects, and the result is going to be the true or false. So either they are equal, they are not equal, one is less than the other one is greater than the other one, and I'm going to actually talk about what those operators are in just a minute. But keep in mind that we can only compare integer with integer, characters with characters, and a float or a real number with a real number, okay, or a double with a double. Okay. Now what are the relational operators? So here are the 6 relational operators that we can use. Now each operator will have a left operand and the right operand. Okay, so in the first case, if the left operand is greater than the right operand, then the result is going to be true. If the left operand is less than the right operand, then of course the result is going to be false. So we are comparing the left to be greater than the right. In this case we are comparing left to be less than right. In this we are comparing left and right to be equal. Now remember there are 2 equal signs. Okay, so if I just put one equal sign, it's not going to work. So we have to make sure that we put the two equal sign to compare for equality. This is for not equal, this is greater than equal to, this is less than equal to. And I will show you some examples, as we'll write the code to see, how do we actually use all these relational operators. Okay. Now, we can compare numbers, we can compare characters using these relational operators, but we cannot use those relational operators to compare strings. So what we have to do is, to compare the strings, we'll have to use the equals method. Okay, and I will also show you example of how to do this. I know I talked about this in my tutorial on the string class, but I didn't show you an example. But in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the equals method. Okay, so what's the general form? So start with the keyword if. Your condition is going to be enclosed in the parentheses. So this is going to be a relational expression. Opening curly braces, closing curly braces, and then the set of statements. So basically what we are going to do is we are going to look at this condition. If this condition is going to be true, then we are going to execute all the statement. If the condition is false, then we are going to skip all the statements. Okay. Now, what about the if else? So in that case, we have actually two set of options. So if the condition is true, we are going to do one thing. If the condition is false, then we are going to do a completely different action. So here's an example. If the sun is shining, then I will go to the beach. Otherwise, I will go to the class. So that means my condition is sun is shining. So sun is shining. If that statement is true, then what am I going to do? I'm going to go to the beach. If the sun is shining, if that condition is false, then what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to my class. So visually, we can actually draw it like this. So we are looking at the condition. If the condition is true, then I'm going to do this set of statements. If the condition is false, then I'm going to do a different set of statements. Now how do we write this in Java? If keyword, your condition is enclosed in the parentheses, then your opening curly braces, closing curly braces in the first set of statements. And then you have the else keyword, another opening and closing curly braces, and then there is a second set of statement. So I'm going to look at this condition. If this condition is true, I'm going to execute this first set of statement. If this condition is false, then I'm going to execute the second set of statement. Okay, now let's go actually write some Java statement, Java code, see how it actually works. Okay, so let's go to our JGraph, start a new file. So I'm going to import the scanner class because I'm going to actually ask the user for input, and then I'm going to make the decision based on what the input was. Okay. So let's start my main method. So I'm going to create my scanner object. And then I'm going to create some variables to store the data that I'm going to ask the user for. Okay, so I have integer value, age, income. Okay, and we're going to do one thing at a time. Okay, so we'll start with a number. So what I'm going to do is ask user for a number. Okay, let's save it and then let's compile it and see how it looks like. So let's compile this. Oops, because I misspelled my scanner. Okay, so let's try it again. Okay, so let's go and run it. Okay, now I'm going to enter 5. So I enter 5, so it says you enter number 5. Okay, what happens if I enter a number other than 5? So let's say 6. Then in that case, it's not going to display any message. Okay, let's add one more thing. So let's go and ask the user for the income. Okay, so I'm going to okay. So let's enter number 5. And let's try invalid income. Okay, so let's enter a negative number. So it says that your input is invalid because I entered a negative number. So let's try it again. And this time you are going to enter a positive number. Okay, you know what, let's okay, so 5,000, and so now in this case it gave me a different result. So when I enter a negative number for my income, it gives me one it displays that my income is invalid or my input is invalid. And if I enter a positive number, then it says that your income is 5,000. So it kind of gives me two different messages depending on if I enter a negative number or a positive number. Now let's try one more example. So this time you're going to ask the user for the age. So what we are going to do is, we'll say if age is less than 16, then we are going to display a message that they can't drive. Okay. Okay. Then we are going to do the else part. Now in the else part, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to check that if the age is between 16. So we know that if this is false, we know that the age is already it's more than 16 or equal to 16. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare it with less than 18. Okay. Now this will be only true. We'll only reach this point if age is age is not less than 16. And in this case, if the age, that means it's 16 or 17. So in this case, we are going to display a different message. Okay. Now in the else part, what we'll do is we'll just say okay, let's go over this and see what it's really going to do. Okay, as the age, if age is less than 16, then I'm going to display this information. If age is not less than 16, but it's less than 18, then I'm going to display this information. And if its age is not less than 18, then I'm going to display this this message. So let's say if the age is 15, then I'm going to say you're too young to drive. Okay, oops, sorry, too young to drive. Okay. So if this is false, then I'm going to look at this. So that means I know that the age is not less than 16. So it could be 17, or it could be 18. Actually, let's actually do less than equal to. So if it's less than 16, that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up till 15. And in this case, but if the age is 16, 17, 18, then I'm going to display this message. And if it's more than 18, then basically I'm going to do this message. Now I don't really need to do, I don't really need to check. Okay, you know what? Oh, there is one more thing. I need to put the if in there. So if age is less than 16, do this. If age is less than or equal to 18, but greater than 16, then do this. If it's greater than 18, then I'm going to do this part. Okay, so let's try it again. Let's compile it and then let's run it. Okay, so go to run, clear this out. So 5 income is 5,000, and let's say age is 15. So it's going to say you're too young to drive. Okay, now let's try a different age. 5,000. Let's try what did we try last time? Let's try 16. See what happens. You can drive with some restriction. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Okay, now let's try it again. Let's try 17 now. Okay, so you can drive with some restriction. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try 18. So you can drive with some restriction. Now let's try another one. This time we'll try a number which is age which is more than 18. Okay, so 5,019, and it says you can drive without restriction. Okay, now I want to do one more thing. I want to ask for a string, because remember I told you I will show you how to use the equals method. Okay, so let's go and ask the user for the state. okay, so what I'm going to do is if state dot compare to okay, so let's see how this works. So what I'm going to do is a user is going to enter the state, and we are going to take this state and we are going to compare it with this string which is enclosed in my parenthesis. Okay, if they are the same, then the result is going to be true. Okay, in that case I'm going to display this message, welcome to Colorado. If they enter anything other than CO, then when I will compare this, so when I will compare the state that was entered by the user with CO, it's not going to be same. Okay, wait, actually, you know what, let me actually change this to equals. Okay, okay, so we are going to compare it for equality in this case. So basically if they are the same, then I'm going to print this message. If they are not same, then we are going to print this message. So let's give it a try, and then I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, for the time being, I'm going to actually comment all this stuff out so that it doesn't and it won't ask for numbers and all that stuff. Okay, so let's compile this and go to a run it. I'm going to enter CO and it said welcome to Colorado. Now let's see what happened if I enter anything other than CO. And then it says, so it gave me a different message. So basically it's comparing it. Okay, now let's try one more time, right? So what happened if I type CO? Okay, so why did it say come back to Colorado? Why is it false? Because remember we are comparing it with the uppercase letter and my input was lowercase letter. So lowercase CO is completely different from uppercase CO. So what we need to do is, if you want to kind of ignore the case, we can go and add ignore case. Okay, so now in this case it doesn't matter whether I enter it in lowercase or uppercase, it's still going to be exactly the same thing as long as I have the my characters are same. Okay, so let's go and compile this and let's try it again. Okay, so go to run window, clear this out, run this, and I'm going to enter lowercase letter. Oops, okay, it worked. Let's try all uppercase letters. Let's try some mixed letters. So see how it works. Okay, yeah, okay, so that's it for this tutorial, and I hope that this will help you with your homework. If you have any question, then let me know. Otherwise I will see you in the next tutorial in the next week.